Hey guys, it's Christina. This is Vox and Guest. I am so excited right now because I have my lovely, my sweet, my darling Katrina Maree with me today. And you all are going to get to talk to her, even though you're not talking, but I am, but through me. She's here. It's Katrina Maree. Say hello, my dear.
Hello, everybody. How are you all?
In what I have to say is one of the coolest looking spaces. You look like you're in some sort of like musical cathedral right now. It's kind of awesome.
Yeah, well, I took over my rumpus room, so it's my rehearsal space, it's my recording studio, and yeah. So, but we've had a few plumbing problems, so it's actually quite empty at the moment. So it's a bit echoey and stuff.
Oh, okay. So wow. Yeah, I know all about plumbing problems. You use the term rumpus room, and I know I've heard that before. I don't really know what the fuck that is though. Like and it's not just an Australian thing because I've heard of it elsewhere, but what is that? Like, is it a room specifically designed for rumpus? And what is that as well? If that's like,
I have no idea how you rumpus or rumpusing or whatever, but basically it's somewhere where the family can get together. I mean, some people deck it out with pool tables and bars and stuff like that. Others, it's where the kids play.
Okay.
In my space, it's where the big kids play.
Okay, so it could be like a den or a playroom. It's like an all-purpose fun room.
It's a spare room. It's a spare room.
Okay. Yeah. In which one is inclined to rumpus?
Yes.
Or to be rumpus, depending on how the evening goes, which you never know. You never know where this interview will take us. We could be rumpusing by hour 2. You just don't know, Kat. It could happen. I'm open to it if you are. You're 10 out of 10 would absolutely hit that. So yes. All right, listen, we have to begin with a key question. A question that anyone who has listened to your music or will listen to your music is immediately going to have in mind. And I have to ask it because it's important. It's serious. And I want to start us off on a meaningful, substantive note. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. Do you eat pizza every single day for 10 years or not at all for 10 years? What is your life choice?
Oh, geez. I reckon I'd have to forego the pizza.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Now, is this a like food intolerance or sensitivity based decision? Are you
it's partly that. Absolutely, it is.
Okay.
I think I'd be in a lot of pain if I ate pizza every day.
Okay. Let's say though we made it like a pizza that wasn't going to like distress you physically. You would still give it up?
Well, is it the same pizza or is it
tastes exactly the same, but it doesn't make you sick? It's magical pizza.
So boring.
Oh, you
it's
like
so
getting
boring.
sick? Oh, you mean is it the same piece of pizza every day?
Yeah.
That's a really good question. Since I didn't think of that clause, you get to decide. You do. If it's a different kind of pizza every day, but every day for 10 years, that's like your lunch or your dinner or your something. Now this is pizza.
Can we make a pocket pizza? And
what is pocket pizza?
Pocket pizza is where you got the filling on the inside.
Oh, like a calzone or something. I don't know. Is that technically pizza?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I think,
but the Turkish pizza is pide is.
Yeah,
and that's got the filling on the inside.
Pita's not pizza. That's pita. No. I'm talking a crust and some sauce and some cheese and then maybe some shit on top. I'll even give you a stuffed crust. Pita. What the fuck? No. Pizza. Not pita. Pizza.
Fine. Then in that case, no pizza.
Wow. Okay. If Rob from AOD, there's the reference, is here in the chat, he likes you just a little bit less because pizza is God for him. But I'm sure there's someone out there who will love you more. Some sort of anti-pizza lobby that's out there. So tell me why. Is it just like a boring factor for you? You just don't want to eat? If it was like, was it anything that you had to eat every day, you would say no to it?
I probably would say no to anything I had
Okay.
to eat every day because
Okay.
you get bored. You gotta enjoy food and I
Yeah.
love eating various different types of food. It's
Okay.
exciting. It's interesting.
Okay. You're going to mix it up. You're spicy. You can't be held in a box, even if it's a pizza box. You're going to say no. So no pizza for a decade. And then you'd eat the shit out of pizza for like a month after that decade was up, and then maybe go back to your
Oh
normal
gosh, I'd look
pizza.
like Cartman after that, you know.
Hey, you guys. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. I don't know if any other question is going to hit as hard as this one tonight, Kat, but we've started off strong, and I respect your variety is the spice of life approach to not eating pizza every day for 10 years. But I don't know what the chat's going to do to you, but I'll protect you. Don't worry. So, all right. Let's get to some of the actual stuff. So you are, and I'm probably going to say it wrong. Is it Canberra? Canberra? How do you say it? Canberra base. So you're in Australia, for anyone who does not know, who hasn't picked up on that clue yet. And you are a multi-instrumentalist and vocalist You are.
I wouldn't say multi-instrumentalist. I dabble with piano and I play bass. So
yeah, that's two. Multi. And you sing. And you
I do.
sing. You
I
do. And you sing very well. And you write your songs. So you're like a one-woman show. You are a one-woman show.
Well, you still need drums and you still need guitar and all that sort of stuff.
Fine, other instruments. No, but you know what? I mean, what's really cool is that I was introduced to you as a bass player. That was what I knew you to be for the first month or whatever that I knew you from last year. And a really excellent bass player at that. And first of all, I have to say, I'm so excited to have another lady on the show because we haven't had that many. We had Shannon Darcy. We had Jules
awesome.
from Jules in the Heist. We had Amy from Eden on Fire. And we had Melissa
awesome.
from Sepsis. And then you, and Mel Militia from AOD.
Yes.
But I think that might be it. And we've done like 70 something interviews. And so we did the estrogen levels are not where they need to be with this show. So we're bringing it today. We're just fucking doing it. So, and a woman who plays bass and sings. And I love it. So, I mean, you literally could be in like any band that you want to, because that's just like, nobody can ever find bass players, first of all, ever for their bands. Am I right? And then really good bass players, even harder to find. So look at you.
Yeah, well, there's a whole bunch of people out there looking for bass players all the time. Like, if you're a bass player, you're never out of work.
This is what I'm saying. We are like, our Vox and Stix is like the Spinal Tap for bass players. Like the band's been around for 3 years. We've had 4, I think, bass players. My band with Greg before this, I think we were together for 3 years. We had like 6 bass players. It's just like, so, I mean, we like to keep at least a spare in the basement, bass player. Just to have around, you never know. But all right, so with all of this in mind, I want to get back to the roots of the whole thing. You and music, when did you meet? How did you know? You have a really cool story, at least the bits of it that you've shared. And we're going to get to the flute and all of that. But talk me through. Yeah, talk me through. Baby Cat, and like, did you grow up in a musical family? Were you around music all the time, just hearing it? Were you just like, I'm a musician and I don't need it? Okay, tell me the story. Tell me your life story.
I grew up in rural areas and stuff like that, and we didn't have much money growing up.
Just fighting kangaroos and shit. You just like, no. That's what I imagine. Is just that you're constantly fighting a kangaroo, like on the way to the car or whatever. Okay, so you were
riding horses mainly.
Okay, I want to see a kangaroo fight a horse now with somebody riding it. But okay, I digress. So okay, so you did not grow up in lavish circumstances where you were just given any instrument you wanted and all of that, like most of us were. Okay.
No, so my mum wasn't musical. She split up from my dad many, many years ago when I was about 18 months old. So, and there was a stepdad in there as well, and we lived in the country, and
Okay.
neither of them were particularly musical. My great grandma has got this beautiful old piano.
Oh,
She was musically inclined,
okay.
but through the rest of the family, not so much.
Huh.
And so I inherited that piano too, by the way.
Do you still have it?
It's a circa 1890s.
Wow.
I think it's a Beale, and it's
Wow.
still got the ivory keys. It's walnut. It's pretty old, but it's yeah.
Oh, that's
It's
amazing. Wow, what a cool thing to have. And look, that's a great
yeah.
piece of family history too. So, okay, so you and great grandma and like nobody else were the musicians in the family. So where was it school? Was that the beginning of it or
Yeah, so year five, a typical kid. You heard a rumor that if you joined the choir, then you got out of Thursday afternoon class, and I was like, oh, I like the idea of that. I don't know what this choir thing is, but I'll give it a shot.
it could be literally anything. You could just be sewing underwear for cats. Doesn't matter. It gets you out of class. You're doing it. Okay, so that really was because I've seen that about you, and I'm like, was that really the beginning? Was it just like I don't want to go to class? Okay, all right. So a
Yeah.
desire to shirk education was your musical motivation. I love it. Okay, so tell folks the story because you got you're twisted. You're a little bit twisted. You.
So yeah, so working in the choir and that, and would you believe I was a soprano in the choir too?
No, really,
Yes, I
truly.
was. Yes, I was a soprano. Would you believe? But yeah, so we did a lot of Eisteddfods and all that sort of stuff that you do as choirs.
Okay.
We won awards, all that sort of fun stuff. And the choir teacher was great. She was just amazing. And we had this piano teacher who also accompanied us with choir as well. And every now and again, I'd have a look over and I go, oh yeah, piano's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like that. And the choir teacher picked up on it. And
Good teacher. Good teacher.
yeah, good teacher. And she knew that I couldn't afford it. And so she came to me, I think about halfway through year six, because I continued choir because I
Yeah.
actually enjoyed it. Would you believe?
By
She
the
turned
second
around.
year, you were doing it for the right reasons, at least. So we got there eventually. But yeah, no. And I love this. This is a wonderful thing. So yeah, tell everybody what she did.
And so she turned around to me and she goes, "Oh, you catch one of the last buses after school, don't you?" And I said, "Yeah, yeah." So you got about half hour, 40 minutes before the bus came. And she turned around. She goes, "Oh, well, I've organised for you to just have a couple of lessons with the piano teacher. One lesson a week, half hour." And that went on for about 6 months, just real basic stuff. And that was sort of the foundation of my understanding of music besides singing, obviously.
And did you love piano right away? Like, was that just a click for you? I mean, obviously, if it were a
Yeah.
huge click, we would know you as a piano player primarily and not a bass player. So I'm aware that at a point the story diverges. But was it sort of like okay? Were you more into the music or the instrument, or was it a little bit of both?
Probably just the music, and the
Okay.
instrument was the vehicle,
Okay.
and that was the available instrument at the time. So
Okay.
it's what you use, right? And so yeah, so I would just fiddle around, but and literally, I still just fiddle. I wouldn't call myself a pianist. I'd probably call myself a piano tinkler.
A tinkler. A tinkler.
I have a very lazy left hand.
I'm not even going to touch that one. But so now, and I'm assuming though that when I hear piano on your songs, is it you?
That's me.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm not going to let you downplay it too much, Kat, because we've heard it, right? So like, it's not like you're sitting there going, bink, bink, bink. You can play. You're just not sitting there, whatever. But that's not what the songs call for anyway. But okay, yeah. So fine. I'll argue with you about your piano talent later. But this is the part of the story that I am most interested to talk to you about because you get to high school then, right? and you
Yeah.
decide you want to learn the bass.
Not quite straight away.
Okay.
I don't know how I fell into it, but I was doing music as an elective in
Okay.
year 7.
Okay.
And you know, they had a band program as well, and for some reason I picked up the flute. I don't know why. I just decided flute.
Just flute,
Um,
right?
and learned the flute and got reasonable at it. I wouldn't say great, but reasonable. And and then, you know, like we would rehearse every lunchtime, right? So anyone who plays a woodwind instrument knows that you cannot eat before before you play.
No,
Um,
that is I was a clarinet player for many years. That is a giant no. It is a bad idea.
so here we
Big
are,
chunks out. Yeah.
you know, playing away in band, you know, and just looking at the guitarist and the bass player, and the buggers would be, you know, having a good time, and they'd be stuffing their faces and all that sort of stuff. And the other problem with a wind instrument is if you get a respiratory infection, cold, flu, anything, you can't play.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, you buggers can play if you're sick. What's going on here? And I turned around to my my music teacher early in year 8, and I said, look, I don't want to do flute anymore. I want to play bass. Like that's what I think will be really fun.
And here comes the blackmail, which I just love. Because first of all, let's pause for a moment there. You started in choir to get out of afternoon class. And then it's starting to sound, Kat, a little tiny bit like you started playing bass so you could eat. A little bit. Yeah. Your entire musical career began with a desire to get out of class and eat lunch. And you know what? I can't be mad at you for that, because who among us would not enjoy both of those things? So explain the blackmail deal, because I laughed for a good 2 minutes when I read this. I was like, I love this teacher so much. This is the funniest thing ever.
So she turned around to me and she goes, but I need my flute players because I haven't got many. I think there were only 2 or 3 of us, and that was it. And she goes, I need my flute players. I need you to play flute in the band. And I'm like, oh yeah. She goes, tell you what, I'll give you a deal. And I'm like, what? And she goes, play flute for another year for me in the band, and I'll teach you how to play bass. So
it's like the mob, you know. You're like, I got a deal for you. I'm gonna let you play this bass, okay? But first, you're giving me a year of the flute, and I don't want to hear nothing about. So you did you jump at this right away? Where you're like, fine, or was there? Okay, there was no fight for that. All right, so
there was no argument there whatsoever.
And bass and not guitar, because you were looking at both of them. So I mean, obviously both guitars, but you know what I'm saying. So what drew you specifically to the bass then? Was that just sort of? Was that a choice, or was it kind of you had fallen into it? You're like, I don't know why I choir. I don't know why I picked up the flute. I don't know why I picked up the. Were you there, Kat, when all this was happening to you? Were you present for your own personal history, or like you just picked it? There was no reason.
I think I like the tone of it more than the guitar. I think that was part of it, and it's got 4 strings, not 6 strings. I thought, oh yeah, well that'll be easier, you know.
Yeah, right. that didn't work out so well. But
anyone who actually plays bass knows that it's quite a complex instrument in itself. Sorry, guitarists. I know guitarists. You know, guitar's a pretty complex instrument too. So you know, come on.
You're not taking it away. You're just pointing out the bass. Also complex. I'm with you.
Absolutely. So I played bass in other things. So I had to play flute in the orchestral band, and then these dudes were doing some sort of bluegrass thing on a different lunchtime. So I started playing bluegrass bass. Would you believe? Playing bass in music as well, and. And yeah, so it ended up, I think about 3 or 4 days of the week was taken up with music.
Wow, okay. Okay.
And it's typical sort of thing. You do the Stepfords, the competitions, all that sort of stuff, and also I got offered some of the music camps as well. This one time, a band camp.
And you played the flute, so it's perfect. That's perfect.
No, I played bass at those band camps.
Well, we don't want to know about that, but yeah, but you do play the flute, so maybe you brought it with you. We're not going to ask about that, or I'll ask about that after we stop taping. But so so and then once you started playing the bass, was it an immediate love thing, or were you just kind of?
Oh yeah, I loved it.
Okay.
I thought it
Okay.
was pretty cool. So
Okay.
so started doing that, and then year 9 and 10, I moved to a different school down in a little place called Woolgoolga, which is
Bless you. Okay.
just north of Coffs Harbour, which is sort of on the east coast of Australia, sort of halfway.
East
thing.
Coast helped me because you're like, it's Balagabaga and it's close to Mamagawaga. And I'm like, I don't know where I barely know where things in New York are. So like, don't even ask me about Australian geography. But okay. So you were how far from where you had been though? Did you move like big or was it?
So another big word for you, Ellangowan.
Sure.
So from Ellangowan to Woolgoolga, I think it's probably a couple of hours.
Okay. So you really moved. You were not like a town over. You moved.
Well, see, in Australia, that's not far.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a very good point. It is a fairly large place. I'll give you that. But still, I mean, if you're 3-4 hours away from where you were, you're not walking back to your old school to be like, "Hi, everybody." No. Okay, so you started over. So what did you bring with you musically for those 2 years? Where was it just bass? Did you do anything else?
So that's probably the time when I decided to just continue with bass. And interestingly, that music teacher at my other school that had given me the deal, she in her interview with my mum, she said, "Look, she needs a bass guitar to progress." And Mum's like, I don't know if I can afford this. Anyway, so we moved down to Woolgoolga and found a secondhand bass. It was an Onyx Silver Starburst, really old bass. I think it was probably 10 years old when I got it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I
well
had this
loved.
big old Roland amp as well. And the whole lot was about $400, and she
and I'm guessing that the amp stack was taller than you at this point. Like you were just
no, it was a little.
Oh, it was not too. It was a little baby. Okay, all right.
And every time you turned it off, it went boom, 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 boom.
It's like the brum. It's just all right. It's heralding the. So all right. So you knew. So you did get a bass. You got a bass.
I did.
Okay, and that was the first time you had a bass when you weren't in school.
That's right. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you played for then 6, 8, 9, 10, like 4 or 5 years just in school on the bass.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So did you miss it when you were home and you couldn't play?
Yes. Yes, okay. I did. So yeah, when I got the bass, which I still have, mind you.
I was going to ask you that too. Okay.
I don't have the amp anymore, but I definitely have the bass, and I'm so glad I never got rid of it.
Yeah.
Heavy old amazing. Thing it is, but it's
I can imagine. Geez, yeah. Okay.
Still fun to play.
Okay.
But I've lost my train of thought.
So yeah, so you moved to the new school. You played bass. You got the bass. You got the Roland amp. You were set to go.
Oh yeah, and I had this crappy little Yamaha keyboard. One of the really tiny things that my dad had bought me.
Okay.
I can't remember when he bought it, but it must have been early high school. I can't remember. So I had this tiny little keyboard, and I'd tinkle on that, but bass was the one that I'd lay on my bed and just play and and just play whenever, and people sort of got to know me as the bass chick.
Not a bad niche to fill, absolutely. But I mean, like you, so then you played through high school, and then for like 14, 15 years, you just Now, before we get to that, if we get to that, were you writing music at all during that time? Were you playing just what was being played in school? When did the songwriting piece of it begin for you?
So that was probably in year 12.
Okay.
So last year of high school, I was doing music as one of my electives for my high school certificate. So getting pretty serious by then,
Yeah,
obviously.
absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, no, I might have done one earlier. On an 8-track Tascam back in
Okay.
year 8. But I can't remember that one, and I don't know where the recording is or anything
Okay.
else. But yeah, that
I'm
was
sure
really
Greg will dig it up somehow. That's just how now he's secretly writing a note going, fuck, like I gotta find it. Yeah, don't worry about it, Greg.
Well, if you find it, let me know because
He's
but,
gonna have to come and rumpus in your room if he's gonna find it. I mean, it may take a little while, but I have faith in him that he'll do it. But okay, so you may have written a lost track, but it really began in earnest year 12.
Year 12, yeah. So I had to do 2 compositions as part of my assessment. So I did a bass song, and I was sort of getting influenced a little bit by Jaco Pastorius and Primus.
As bass players do.
Yeah. Primus was pretty cool. Les Claypool was awesome. And so yeah, I was playing with harmonics and a bit of finger picking and chords and slap. Not that I'm very good at slap, but I incorporated a little bit of slap in it. And so I did a bass song, and I also did a piano song.
Okay.
And that was my performance and my composition assessments for high school.
Okay. Now, did you just write a piece for bass, or did you then flesh it out and write a song around it later? That was just a standalone? That was its own thing?
No, it was a fully instrumental bass piece.
Okay.
Solo bass piece, and I never progressed it.
You never touched it again. Okay, you were done. That was it. Because I'm starting to get that from you, Kat. The thing that you needed to do it for was over. You had eaten your sandwich. You'd missed class. You were done. That piece was. And I mean, look, if that's what you're composing it for, it probably was done. Didn't have to turn into anything else. But okay, so that was the first foray. But then once you had the bass in your possession, those 2 years, did you keep writing after that? Did you say like, all right, or did everything stop after high school?
A lot of things stopped. It was really interesting. So I moved out of home, started work as most people do, found a relationship, got married, had a child, all that sort of stuff.
So you were a little busy. Yeah.
A little busy, and I'd tinkle on the piano occasionally, because obviously I had that beautiful piano just sitting there, but it wasn't serious and it wasn't dedicated. It was just I need to play. I'll just play something.
But no bass.
Not really, no. The bass was in its case and it was hiding away somewhere, and I didn't really touch it.
That's a long time to go without something that lights you up like that. That's a long
Absolutely
time.
It is. And like message to young players, don't give up music.
Absolutely. You've gotta anyone, and I mean I had a similar thing too. A lot of, I think, parents and particularly mothers, there's a hiatus there when the kids come into the picture, and it's just, you don't feel like yourself.
No.
There's just a bit of you missing. And I think once your kid or kids can see you in that element, that's a pretty great thing for both parent and child too. So I mean, okay, so and again, I don't know how much of that you want to get into, but we may have gotten into all of it. That's totally fine. But so you had, that was 14, 15 years, right? And then
Absolutely.
Just no bass and a little bit of, as we like to now say, tinkling. Just tinkling, but errant tinkling, not even intentional tinkling. And so Do you want to fast forward to when you pick it back up, or was there anything else in there that you wanted to cover, or how did you find your way back to music, if nothing else?
Probably the trigger was when I was separated
Okay.
from my ex. It was pretty traumatic time, and I don't think separations are ever easy.
Yeah.
And wandering around lost for a little while. There was something missing, and just one day I just dusted off the bass and just tinkered. I didn't even have an amp. I just had the bass and a couple of leads. That was it. And for some reason, I just gone, oh yeah, I remember this stuff. Yeah, and just started playing again. And then ended up getting myself a practice amp. And then I went to the Blues Society, found out that the Blues Society was doing stuff, and got back into blues, which is probably something that I've found relatively straightforward to play.
Sure.
So jumped on the blues workshops, jumped up in the blues jams, stuff like that, and gone, oh yeah, I remember this stuff. I remember why I like this stuff. And then got into a covers band as well.
Legally required to do that. That's just you. You have to. Otherwise, you don't get to say that you're actually a musician, because you have to do your time, so to speak, in a covers band. Some of us stay there. And then there are those of you that leave us behind into the land of originals. But I love, Kat, that you came back to yourself musically in that time too, because I can relate to that, and we can talk about that more when it's not your interview. But there's something about that where when things get elemental like that, and everything has just been shaken up, and I think those who have music just in their bones, that is, if you're going to find it again, if you've been away from it, that's the time to do it, because you're kind of rebuilding yourself, right? You're rebuilding your life, and like music has to be foundational in that. So I mean, I understand exactly where you were. I really do. And I mean, did you, at that moment, of extended moment, obviously, but once you picked your bass back up and you rediscovered all of that, did that ground you? Like, was that immediately like, I must not set this aside again? Like, was it just that, or were you kind of like easing your way back in?
Typical me. When I start doing something that I like doing, I go in all the way. And so I get a bit obsessive about it. And so sadly, I actually dropped my bass. didn't have what do you call it, lock nuts on it, and I dropped it and I broke the little nut. Luckily, it was my onyx, and it just heavy, solid thing, and that was the only thing that broke. And so then I thought, oh, I guess I need to buy a new bass, because I was going to do the jam. And so I got a fretless Fender jazz bass.
Little bit of an upgrade.
Just a smidge. Just beautiful.
Probably a barely perceptible difference for you. It just you might have picked one up or the other interchangeably. Who even? Okay, so was that then just, were you like, holy shit, like this? Did it change your playing? Did it change everything?
It did, because anyone who's played a fretless knows that you get some really cool different sounds out of it and stuff like that. And you just get excited, and so you just play more and more and more. And so yeah, and then when I was getting into the originals band, I realized that I needed a 5-string.
You had to. You didn't want to. It was a necessity. Bread, water.
I got sick of changing drop D tuning.
I don't blame you at all. I mean, also, especially given like most guitarists have like 11,000 guitars and pedals and all this. Like, you're like, I was up to like 2.5 basses at this point. I don't think anybody's going to be mad at you. You were absolutely fine. Okay. So, and I mean, as you pick that up, was that like, because those are different things. Did it change? Like, again, how hard was moving to fretless and then moving to 5-string? Like, what was the learning curve there?
Well, two things. It was a 5-string, so that's different in itself. That you got an extra string that you sort of work out how to play.
Yeah.
And then also it was an active bass as well, which means it's got a battery in it, and yeah, so it picks up stuff that you're doing on the neck a lot more than the passive bass, and different tones you can get out of it and stuff. And I was just having a lot of fun with it, and I think that's when I started composing a few more songs. When I got the Schecter, because it was just a fun bass and I enjoyed it. So I think traveling in my mind was one of the ones that I've just gone, oh yeah, I like this. This is cool.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, you know what? Speaking of, because I do like to make sure I get yelled at if I don't play the song pretty early on in the show. You have, I think, earned the title, and I don't give it out to too many people, but I think it's safe to say that you musically fit into what I call being genre promiscuous, because you are not a blank player. You play a lot of different genres, and even within songs sometimes, and depending on whether it's your solo stuff or the Black Souls, and we'll get into all of that, you're musically all over the place in a great way, right? So Kat being genre promiscuous, I want to make sure everybody knows before we play this song that when you hear it, you will have heard one part of what she does. Okay, like this is not, oh, okay, now I know what Katrina Maree's music. No, you don't. No, you don't. You have many other things you need to listen to. But so why don't you talk us through, just at this point, because I know it's a bit of a loaded question, but just from briefly a musical standpoint, tell us a little bit about Footsteps before we play it, and then we'll come back and talk about it more.
Footsteps was an interesting one. So my so the guitarist in the Black Souls, Bart Black, who ended up also being my partner. It's funny because we always joke that we could never write a love song. His love songs always ended up with a twist, and so did mine. Like they just didn't work for some reason. I don't know why. And as per normal, having insomnia a lot.
Can relate.
Yeah, so a lot of my composition starts off at 2-3 o'clock in the morning when I can't sleep, and Footsteps was one of those where I was just playing on the piano, because that's what I do when I'm emotionally spent. I just play, and this little thing just kept coming in my head, just a progression, and so I just hit record and just played it, and it was ages where it was just sitting there.
Okay.
Had no idea about lyrics or anything else, and then I was just playing it over and over a while later, and just Footsteps on the Water. Footsteps on the Water was the thing that sort of hit me, and I'm going, footsteps. I like footsteps, and then. Then things started coming, and so I actually wrote the third verse first.
Okay. I like
so
that. Somehow that's like very fitting for you. Like what I know of you now, especially, that's perfectly as it should be. I think you should write the intro last and the third part first and the middle part after the ending and what. So, okay. So but the song, like, it sat for a while. This did not just come all at once. I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah. So probably a couple of months, but it's interesting. Once I get into lyric mode, then lyrics are done probably in maximum about an hour, maybe an hour or two.
Okay.
Some songs like Nasty You, Nasty Me was 15 minutes.
Okay. Okay. We're going to get to each of them, but okay. So this, I think that's a good place to pause and we play it, right? Cause I know there's more to be said, but so guys, really, you're going to, if you haven't heard it already, first of all, shame on you. And secondly, you're going to really enjoy this. This is Footsteps by Katrina Maree.
footsteps and my memories as you held your hand in mine. I wish I could go back in time. Footsteps as I'm dreaming as you're laying next to me. You're not here with me. Was it all a dream? You there beside me. Am I destined not to love ever Footsteps in the water as you walk away from me. I don't want to be free. Come back to me. Was it all a dream? You there beside me. Am I destined not to love ever
This song, I really, because this just came out like right before Christmas, right? This is not, but yeah. So I mean, I get, and again, people are probably so tired of hearing me say this, but I always have to say, because I never know who's heard me say it before when I'm interviewing them. I only make comparisons, when they're favorable, and I don't do it to be like, oh, it sounds like this song. But I got a real Mystery Achievement Pretenders vibe from this, but like way darker and like more moody and cool. And like, I just, first of all, I'm in love with your voice. Like I'm always happy to hear another woman singing, not up in the rafters, you know, because I always feel like I'm like, you know, because I'm an alto and it's just sort of like I'm down here and everyone's like, oh, and I'm like, fuck you, you know. But and you have this great. Where would you put yourself vocally? Contralto? Like what do you consider yourself to be?
I think the term is mezzo soprano, which sort of means that you can do the alto stuff, but you can also hit some high notes as well. So it's interesting because you'll probably hear some of the harmonies on some of the stuff. Is quite high
up there, and you're doing it too. Yeah, you're pulling it off. Yeah, no, and it's great. But I love that for the most part, vocally, you're sitting down there, and I love that too because, again, being genre promiscuous as you are, whether it's Footsteps or you know, and again, I think you have like 16 songs out that I heard, so we have time to go through at least most of them, I think, and I would really like to do that because they are so different in so many ways. But like, you know, there's just this smoky, sultry, confident, like you have all this swag in your vocals, you know, and I love that. That just always grabs me right off the bat. And I really, do you hear, first of all, do you know, I mean, most people I think have heard the song Mystery Achievement. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you know that song, the Pretenders song?
I'd have to go back and have a look.
Okay. All right. When you do, let me know later if you're like, what the fuck? Or like, oh yeah, okay, I kind of know what you were talking about. Cause it's again, it's a different tempo. It's a different vibe, but I think I do get some Chrissie Hynde Pretenders in your voice. I also get some Fiona Apple who's a singer I love. Doesn't look like you know her. You're just like, no, okay, great. Kookaburra Joe, is that a name? I don't know. I'm just gonna invent something I think you might know. But like, and Dido.
Oh yeah.
Okay, all right. The 1 out of 3 we got there. That's it. But yeah, I mean, but you don't sound like any of them. But those are kind of some of the things that come to mind. And so I get that sort of, again, confident, sultry, swaggy kind of vocal from you. And then just, obviously the bass is just right. So talk to me about putting this song together from the riff that you had, the progression that you had, to what we're hearing. Like what was I know you said you had the lyrics, they came very quickly, but there's a lot you had to add in there. So was that all you? Was anybody else in the mix on that, or what was
I had managed to convince both Bart and Steve. So Steve's the drummer from the Black Souls, and Bart, and we had just Steve sort of mentioned. He said, "You've got all the recording gear. You record our demos and mix our demos, and you do an awesome job. Blah blah." And I'm like, "Oh, not great, but." And he goes, "I reckon we should just record it here, and get it right, record it here, and then send it off to Rogasant Studios, which is Fourth Watch, which I think most people would know.
No,
who
yeah,
he is.
yeah. If they don't, they should. So yeah, that's that's definitely a name in the community that people should know.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, so I guess the first bit was putting down the piano in Studio One. I use Studio One, PreSonus Studio One, and got that down, and then got rough vocals down as well. So probably just that key line down, and then we dragged Steve in. And again, it's first time I had done anything with drums in recording. So he brought in his electric drums, which was great.
Yeah, that's definitely a lot easier than fucking miking a whole acoustic and trying to. Okay,
but he had a psychotic hi-hat. So you just look at it and this thing would go, and it's just like, we can't do that. So we ended up live recording hi-hat and I think crash cymbal or something. So we did actually live mic those. Okay. And took me an entire day to work out how to make this thing talk with my stuff and everything else. And then we come back the next week and then we got it all done, which was really cool. And then we put Bart's guitar down over the top. And then,
and I'm assuming when Steve and Bart, because this isn't technically a Black Souls, and we should mention to everybody just so that it's all in context. In addition to Katrina Maree music, there is the band The Black Souls, which is Bart and on guitar and Steve on drums and Kat vocals and Bart's on vocals, and there's a lot going on. But you have your studio musicians. It's your band, but they come in and they do other things. So when you brought this to them, was it okay? Here's what did you have when you brought it to them? You had lyrics. You had nothing. I'm assuming they wrote their own parts. Yeah, okay, all right.
Yeah. So basically, I gave them the piano and the vocals, and I said, "There you go. That's the song. Do whatever you want." And then we'll record it, because we had decided as well, because fiscally the band wasn't great on the financials, so we were looking at ways of saving
pretty much everybody
money.
Watching will be like, "Yep, that's how it goes."
So we were using this as sort of an experiment to see if we could do band stuff down the track. In the same format. So yeah, and they did a really good job. And then we sent it down to the Fourth Watch and got him to do the mixing and the mastering, and he just loved it, which is awesome. And I just was so happy when it came back. It just sounded great. And then looked at releasing it. So I think we were doing it in around winter of our winter, so that'd be about June, July, when we were starting to put it together. and
Okay.
and then we set the release date for December. So,
Okay. That's, I mean, so, I mean, the song took almost a year from when you first started fiddling. We're like at 9 months, right? From the very beginnings of it to when it was out and released. And I mean, at that point, are you sitting there going, aha, now this is something else that I want to be doing moving forward, rather, because again, you have the 2 EPs, Katrina Maree Music, right? So you've got Traveling in My Mind and you've got Unrealized Dreams. And they're different. They're just different, right? They're different. And it's funny because the Black Soul stuff is different from Footsteps too, right? So you have a lot of different, not just genres, but the feel of the thing, the way that it's recorded, what instruments you use, don't use. There's like a lot of different iterations of you musically. So, I mean, when you put together Footsteps, was the idea like, okay, this is going to be kind of a new direction, or was this just like, that was this song, and then the next thing I do, it might be something completely different or something like I've done? Like, what's your process with that? Like when you're writing, is it usually just a progression will come to you? Do you get lyrics sometimes first? Like, does it depend on the song?
depends on the song.
Okay.
9 times out, like my phone is just full of riffs, little snippets of stuff, ideas, whatever.
Okay.
Sometimes the words come first, sometimes they don't. It just depends. But normally the riff or the emotion, into the progression will come first. And I'll just play around with it. I'll just come up with one thing and I'll go, oh yeah, that's cool. And sometimes I'll have something that will add to it at the time, and sometimes I've got to come back to it.
Okay.
And then I come back to it and I go, oh, it needs something else.
Okay.
So yeah, things morph. They morph over time, and then when you play it with others for a little while, things morph as well. And yeah, it's a pretty cool process. But yeah, not structured, no plan of an EP or anything else. I just sort of write songs, record them, go, oh yeah, those ones match, that'll do. But I do take care with the order that I put them in and what goes together. But
look at you planning something. Look at you, so proud of you. You're like, one part of this is absolutely intentional, just the one, but it's there, and we're gonna mention it. So really, then you're just writing, and then at a certain point you go, no, I could collect a couple of these and put out. That's really what it is. It's just, okay. So you don't sit there and go, because what's interesting to me is that, and again, we started with Footsteps. We'll come back to it, in pieces, but I think we're at the point now where we kind of need to just like dive into all of the music at the same time, because it's very hard for me, at least, to delineate them as if they're completely separate entities, because I don't think they are. You're in all of them, obviously, and then Bart and Steve are involved in at least some of them. So I mean, you your first EP was 21, right? Unrealized Dreams. That was okay. So, and I mean that if you had told me, you know what, yep, I had an idea, I wanted to do this trio of songs, and I've got like an idea of sort of at least the emotional theme, or I would have been like, yeah, Kat, you did. I heard it. I felt, and you're like, no, I just wrote them and I was like, these will do. But like so the 3 tracks on Unrealized Dreams, the title track, you've got What's in a Dream, and you've got Mother Nature is My Healing, right? Okay. Yeah. So talk me through, was that the first, because I don't really have a sense of when your hiatus with music ended. I don't know what year that was. So how long from when you got back into music, first of all, to when Unrealized Dreams came out was that?
So I probably started jamming with the Blues Society back in 2018. Or thereabouts.
Okay. So not that long. Okay.
Yeah, and then I bumped into Bart at a gig of all places.
Fitting, absolutely fitting.
As you do. we got introduced by a mutual friend, and she goes, "Oh, he's an awesome guitarist. She's an awesome bassist. You guys should jam." And he goes, "Yeah, we should jam one day." And I'm like, "Yeah, we should." Okay, no worries. So, 2019 was when I started jamming with Bart.
Okay.
And that's probably when I realised that songwriting is possible. Because he had a whole bunch of songs that he had done over time, obviously, and yeah, he was the one that actually, I said to him, "I've got a couple of songs here," and he's like, "Yeah, cool," and I said, "Well, the weird thing about that first EP is it was never intended to be commercial or anything like that. I just wanted to put something on CD to show my nan what I did."
Oh. And how did Nan like it? Did she love it as much as I did?
She loved it. She loved it.
Yeah. It's a great EP, Kat, and I'll let you finish. It's for 3 songs. I think the whole thing is 10 minutes, right? It's like it's not what I would call a time sink at all, but like you accomplish so much, and this is all of the music. It's your stuff. It's the first EP, it's the second EP, it's Footsteps, it's the stuff with the Black Souls. You accomplish so much in such a short span musically, and I'm so impressed by that you can make 3.5 minutes rich and full, and there's dimension, and the song goes from one place to another. You're not just like vamping on the same thing for 3 minutes, even if it's blues, which I think you would be absolutely legally entitled to do. Like if it's a blues vamp, you could just do that for 3 minutes or 3 hours or whatever, and it would be great, but like I know why she loved it, because it's, first of all, lyrically just honest and straightforward, and I'm gonna say simple, and people ascribe a negative connotation to that, and I don't think, especially in the world that we live in, I don't think simple is a bad thing at all, because it's just, you're being honest, and I love that, and I love that it's whether you're talking about unrealized dreams that you had, whether you're talking about kind of just looking around at a situation and going, what the fuck am I doing in this, and then or okay, this is where I get my peace, and I feel like you really are a songwriter to me, especially because unless you're just making shit up, in which case I'm going to feel like a fucking idiot, but like assuming these are fairly autobiographical songs in their way, or at least they're representative of you, I'm assuming, I feel like I know you through your music, and I love that. I love that because it's the whole thing. Again, like everything I hear you do, and when I say raw, I don't mean rough, I don't mean unpolished, I don't mean sonically, I mean just you are out there, you're vulnerable, or you're being strong, or you're being sad, or you're being healed, or you're angry and you're realizing it, but like it's visceral, and I love that, but you do it in like the smoothest fucking way, and I don't know how you pull all of those things off at the same time, but like I really, just going through the discography, I was like, fuck, she's good. Like I knew you were good, I've heard a couple of the songs and everything, I'd heard Footsteps obviously, but like really listening to everything, I was like, man. So like, did you realize that about yourself when you were putting this together? No. You did. You may still not have realized it based on the look on your face, because you're like, what is she talking about? But like, that's how it made me feel, Kat. Like I really connected, like really, and it's so authentic too. So authentic. It's authentic, and I appreciate that, because a lot of music is not. So I interrupted you. You made the thing for your nan, and she loved it. But like, what was that like? Just putting those 3 things together. There was no sense of like, whoa, look at what I did. You were like, here's a CD for my nan. Like that was really literally all it was for you.
Well, that was a birth of Katrina Maree, really. So so I just randomly rang up a studio and just gone, I've got this idea. I just want these songs recorded. What do I need to do? Never been in the studio before.
Okay. Yeah.
And he was really good. So that was at Amberley Studios here in Canberra. And And so I wandered down there, had no idea what I was doing. I had my piano and all that sort of stuff, like digital piano and all that.
Mhm.
And so the idea was it was just going to be piano and vocals. That was it.
Okay.
Just something really simple. And I was really nervous, and I had been talking to Bart about the fact that I was so nervous. And he goes, "Oh well, I'll come down. I'll come down. I've been in the studios before. I'll come down and give you some moral support." And I'm like, "Oh, that would be lovely, thank you." And anyway, so we were sitting there, and we had recorded the piano bits, and guy turned around to me and he goes, "Bart's a guitarist, isn't he?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Just get him to bring his guitars down with him when he comes." And I go, "Oh, okay." So I rang him up and I said, "Oh, do you reckon you can bring your guitars down?" And he goes, Yeah, I'll bring them down." And anyway, so then we, did the vocals and everything else, and that was challenging as well, because having headphones on and trying to get everything done, and Bart was the one that told me, just drop it off your ear.
Yeah, so you
Have
can hear
one on
yourself.
so
And
you can hear yourself the way that you normally do.
Yeah.
Just little things like that. And and we record it, and then guys going, "I think it needs a bit of guitar. What do you reckon, Bart?"
Man said brother was really producing there, like, just have him bring his guitars down, but for no reason, like just so I can see them, like he knew. So I mean, were you like, "Fuck you, dude, this is like a piano and vocal song," or were you like, "Yeah, okay," you were open to it?
I was open to it because I was heavily reliant on him to work out what worked.
And you also knew how good Bart was. So that wasn't going to be like, you weren't like, "Oh, this is a new guitarist coming in and you're putting him on my job." Like, you have and had you guys played at that point, you and Bart together? I mean, were you together at that point, or was it?
No, we weren't together,
Okay.
but we had been jamming, and I think we were playing in a band in its original lineup. We were rehearsing. We sort of changed the lineup several times as we went through.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we were already playing quite regularly, and
so you knew you could trust him musically. Okay, so he goes in and he sits down, and is he just literally and figuratively like riffing? Were you like, "Well, this is kind of what I imagine," or did he just pick up what he thought should be in there?
He did 1 or 2 takes and he was done.
You're like, "Damn it!"
No, and then Guy and I sat in the studio and we cut the hell out of it, and and then we realised that in some parts, you overlay the 2 guitars, and it just had this gorgeous effect, so we were having fun.
So I mean, I'm just thinking about like the learning curve that you had in that one experience. You had never been in the studio before. And it is, if you are, I started on live stages, and then I went into the studio, and it's like, wait, what? Like, first of all, you're in there by yourself. You got eggshell all over you. People are on the other side looking at you like so you're some sort of zoo attraction, right? You got the headphones on, you can't hear yourself, or you can hear yourself way better than you want to, and you're like, shit, but it's a lot to pick up. But you're doing that, you're recording piano rather, and then you're sort of learning a little bit about the board, like producing, but that's a lot of shit to pick up in one. How long did it take in the studio to get the whole thing done?
I'm not sure. I think we spent a day on each song to record it.
Okay.
And then a few days to mix it down and edit it and stuff like that.
So you're talking like a weekish, something like that.
Something like that for 3 songs. Yeah.
That's a pretty big matrix level like download of information that you had all at once. So so Bart goes in.
But I guess I had been playing with pre-Sonus before then anyway.
Right. So that's right. You did have a little bit of information about how it went. So okay, and then so let's get into those songs a little bit then. So Unrealized Dreams, opening track, title track, obviously. So I'm like, okay, I'm paying attention to this one, especially because the album's named after it, whatever. And I mean, it's jazzy and it's bluesy and it's a little bit, I get a little bit of moon dance from that, but like that kind of jazz, that like cool. Again, I only mean that in a good way. Like I just it's again, it's got that confidence. It's just a strong way to start the EP off, and then when you start singing, I'm just like, there's something very torch songy about the way that you're doing these, and like, and I look at you just giggling at yourself. No, but I mean it. Like, and the harmonies are beautiful, like really beautiful, and you have that cool, almost like a scattered harmony at the bridge. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And like, and it just, Bart's not dominating that track at all. I love the way he's just dancing in and out of your piano and everything else. And it's like, but when did the drums come into the picture, and who was that? Like, what was the?
They were just programmed. Guy just programmed them himself.
No, they sounded convincing to me.
They were pretty good.
Yeah, they really were
very, very good at what he did.
Okay,
and
I did not realize that was. It did not sound like a program to me at all. And I know some of them are really good, but most of them, even if they're good and you enjoy them, you could be like, oh yeah, okay. Like I didn't pick up on that. That's very cool. Yeah, he did a good job. Okay, so I mean, lyrically too. I mean, like, was that an easy song to write? Was it a hard song to write? I mean, given sort of the progression of when you got back into music and sort of where you were in your life and all of that, like that could be a very poignant song depending on how autobiographical it actually was. And you don't even have to get into that if you don't want to, but lyrically, like, did that one come quickly? Was that a harder one to write, or?
I think it came reasonably not too bad. I think that one I had just written a note in my phone, unrealized dreams. I don't know why, I just written it, and then it just sort of came to me. I think with that one, the opening line was the first thing that came out, which it's time to chase your unrealized dreams, and yeah, I think this one was more of a motivator to me. To realize that music was something that was okay. Music was something that I could do no matter what. It didn't matter what other people thought. Just crack on and just do it. And,
were you getting not great feedback from other people at this point? I can't imagine that you were.
No, I was getting good feedback. It was just more, particularly with the singing. I had gotten very self-conscious with singing and no confidence at all with singing.
Do you know why? Or was that just you, or had somebody said something at some point, or?
I think that was a self-esteem thing over a prolonged time. And yeah, so I had to work on that. So I actually had to engage a vocal coach for that EP, and she taught me how to get the confidence back.
Yeah, man, she was good though. Like, because how did I describe it to you? What did I say? Confidence and swag and strong, and like, I'm stunned actually to hear that you were not walking into the studio like that. Like, yeah, let's fucking go. I want to record these vocal. Like, that's really surprising to me. Not that you come off like somebody who's like, come at me, bro. But I mean, like, you. It surprises me, A, because of how good a voice you have, and B, because none of that translated. Like, none of it. You just sounded in full control, and like you were in your element, and like I never ever would have guessed. So holy kudos to the vocal coach for whatever magic she worked to get you to realize how good you are. But okay, so all right, go ahead.
Yeah, so when we were doing harmonies, I was terrible at harmonies, terrible, and so the producer worked a lot with me on that as well. To say, I want something high here. And Jenny was in the studio, and she go, do this, and I'm like, oh yeah, that works, that's cool. So that will work, and yeah, so it gave me that confidence back that I really needed. And yeah, he didn't push me too hard in that EP, but when I came back to him for the next EP, he's right, Okay, time to push you. And he pushed me. He made me work, which was really, really good. And we got some really cool complex harmonies in the second EP as a result of
yeah.
that. So
Okay.
yeah, getting that support and just that little bit of professional input goes a long way.
So, and I mean, so between the first and the second EP, you had almost exactly 2 years, right? So was that, and where in there did the Black Souls start? Like, I feel like we kind of need to, so you musically now with Bart, the ellipses that we left off on there was, you guys were jamming together, you were working on a lineup, you were playing together, he was helping out in the studio. And then what? Like with the two of you, at least musically, like what, I'm not like, whatever, but like how did it morph into eventually, forming the Black Souls and meeting Steve and all, like, what was the next step for you and Bart musically after that?
Yeah, so it was interesting. We went through a couple of drummers, and we ended, the backup singer from the original lineup ended up jumping on the drums one day because the other drummer had quit, didn't turn up, and so and we wanted to play, we wanted to jam, so we threw the sticks at Mongo and said, right, just keep a beat. We just want to jam. Just keep a beat. And he's like, okay, no worries. And then we thought, you actually can keep a beat. Cool. Right. And
of
so
course, it's Mongo. What can't Mongo do, Kat, really? I mean, like if anybody's going to be able to be like, well, I was singing backup, but now I'm just going to be the drummer, it's going to be Mongo. Like, tale as old as time. But okay, so you realize Mongo could actually play.
Yeah.
So he became the drummer?
So he became the drummer, and we ended up getting a singer for a while, Sophie. And we were doing a few original gigs, which was great. And then we went to a local venue, and they liked what we did, but unfortunately, the crowd, typical pub crowd, preferred covers. So we ended up finding that we were doing more and more covers each time, which was sort of killing our souls a little bit because we wanted to be
you wanted to do
band.
originals. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a cover band, but when you go in there intending to be an originals band, it's kind of not. That's not where you're going to be looking to go. So totally understandable.
Yeah,
okay.
So we had that lineup for about a year. Then the singer went her own way, and then it was just us three. And I just said to Bart, look, let's not worry about different singers. You can sing, just sing. And and so he started doing the singing, and my songs, I'd do the singing on my songs as well. Right. And so we were a three-piece for, I think, another year. And then Mongo decided his creative interests were different and he wanted to move on. And we're like,
classic Mongo. Okay.
Need a drummer.
Yeah.
And so 2023 was when we reached out to Steve.
Okay.
And that's when things started happening. That's when we jumped in the studio and recorded and got a whole bunch of gigs and it was going really well.
Happening very fast. And I mean, also keeping in mind that you had an EP of your own come out March of last year, and then you had the band EP come out in December of last year. That's a busy year because you're doing two things. You have two projects. So, okay, so we went from 21 to 22. Okay. Then 22 to 23, it sounds like and then we've got Steve. So where in there did Bart become more than a musical partner? Just so I'm oriented, if you want to get into it, because I'm trying to figure out the timeline here a little bit.
That was February of 2022.
Okay. Yeah. So somewhere in the middle of the Mongo years, we were we had morphed over into something there. So then were you guys writing together from the beginning, or was it like, when in your originals work, was it Bart had his songs, you had your song? Did Mongo write anything, or was it just the two of you doing the song? Okay.
Mongo wrote a couple as well. He'd write the lyrics and then Bart would write the melodies. So he had a couple of songs as well.
Okay. Yeah. So true three-piece. Okay. Very cool. But so then when you were, you know, starting to move into this, you would write your stuff, he would write his stuff, and then you'd kind of come together and work on each other's stuff with the drums. And
yeah, there was a fair bit of that.
Okay.
Yeah, because Bart had a whole bunch of songs that he had written a while ago, and he just wanted to get
them out there. Yeah.
And I had a few songs that didn't seem to fit the Katrina Maree mold, but sort of probably fit the Black Souls mold better. So I thought, oh yeah, I'll release those through the Black Souls rather than Katrina Maree. And yeah, so that's what we did.
See, and I find that always fascinating, right? Because I talked to Heinrich from Into Elysium recently, and he's another one who's got a band, which is him, like he's the band, he's Into Elysium, and then he's got a separate project in his name, and he's very clear on these are Into Elysium projects, these are my name projects, and it's so funny to me because it actually is necessary, you know, and I love that because, and I'm taking you specifically, right? That you know, on your own EPs, you know, in the Katrina Maree Music project, you're mixing things up. I mean, especially on Traveling in My Mind, the genre hopping on that, like, you know, just this really anthemic kind of proggy stuff. And then like this gypsy kaleidoscopic cabaret, like what, and it's great. And then you've got like the really hard rock stuff. There's like bluesier stuff and some like hair metals, like you're all over the place. And I love that in that you were like, these aren't Katrina Maree songs, these have to be Black Soul songs. So like, what is and I understand it because when I listen to your songs interspersed with Bart's on the album Heartbreaking Redemption, so just so everybody's with us, the Black Souls album came out Christmas of last year, and a couple weeks before. And that Heartbreaking Redemption is the band, okay? And then you've got Katrina's separate project, right? So when I listen to the Black Souls album and I hear, you know, because it's like Bart and then you, and then Bart and then you, and the Bart, like singing lead and vocals, and I assume those are the songs you're each singing, the ones that you wrote, right? They fit really well together. And I'm trying to think about like if you took like a Don't Know If I Like You and put it on a Traveling in My Mind or an Unrealized Dreams, like would it work? And I don't think so. So I think you're actually right, especially not Unrealized Dreams. That's a very delicate album in its way. It's a strong but fragile album, and I mean in the best way, because it is very vulnerable, but it's also strong. So right, but like, do you, when you write something, I'm not assuming you're sitting there going, okay, this is going to be a song for this project, and this, you're just writing, and then later on you just, okay. So what was the thought process there of like, okay, these I'm gonna put here, I'm gonna put here, but like that just came at the end of having written them?
Yeah, like there were a couple that I'd just bring into the band and just go,
okay,
what do you reckon? And they'd be like, yeah, cool. and it's strange because Nasty You, Nasty Me was one that I retained for myself, and yet we now play that as part of the Souls as well.
Yeah.
And same as Traveling in My Mind, actually. But at the time, it felt like it was more of a Katrina Maree song. It seemed to fit better on that EP, you know, and yeah, so that's why we sort of did what we did.
Okay.
But yeah. It's
well, and as you said, things morph too, right? So I imagine what you would do with it for your solo project is going to be different from what you would do with it with the Souls, right? So that's and I love that too, because, and especially like playing live, there's a lot of creative license that you can take there, you know, and I mean there are, especially there's one of your it's on the Souls album. I want to say it's Wasted. There's a real live feel to that track. Like it, and I was trying to figure out, like, you guys weren't all recording that live together were you? Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
we went to a studio, and again, not being so fiscally great, we decided we were going to smash out everything we could in a day.
Okay.
So we recorded those 7 songs in a day, and
Wow.
then obviously did the mixing afterwards. But yeah,
Wow.
those 7 songs were done in a day. So we play them live, and then if we made a slight mistake somewhere, we'd just overdub that
Right.
bit, and then
Right.
we'd do
Right.
the vocals. But yeah, pretty much what you're hearing is pretty much live. So
That's
yeah,
fantastic. I mean,
and
like
and
that.
and that was Bart's vision with that album. He wanted it to sound pretty much the way it would sound when we hit the stage.
Okay. See, that's so interesting to me because I didn't pick it up in at least most of the others. There's something about that one specifically where I'm like, and I can't really, say like, is it because when you are playing together, there's just a feel that's different, because then it would be everywhere. I don't know why that one was like the one where I picked up on and the rest of them I didn't. But so, I mean, like that's a wild fucking ride. Like that's like that movie Once. Did you see that? It's a great movie if you haven't seen it. You have none of my references, Kat. You don't know anything I'm talking. I could talk about, and you'd be like, nope, I've never heard of it. Nope, I don't know. The Beatles, who? I don't. But you so
I know the Beatles.
okay, I figured that would be one that's one we would both know. But no, but there's a great movie, and I think it turned into a Broadway show, but I didn't see it, called Once, and it's about like a busker and somebody who he basically decides to record an album, and he gets this ragtag group of musicians together, and they go into the studio, and they're in the room together recording, and like, anybody who's been in the studio knows how nerve-wracking that is, right? Because you got to be on. And yes, you do that when you're on stage, but usually cell phone footage or whatever aside, that's kind of an ephemeral thing, right? Like, you're on stage, you play it, somebody boffs a riff or misses a note or whatever, fine. Like, you're not like, oh, we have to start the song again, right? But when you're in the studio and you want to get it down, there's a lot more pressure. So given how different that was from your other studio experiences that were just you, did you love it? Did you hate it? Were you like, it's just like being on stage? Like, how was that for you?
It was different. It was good. I guess the difference for recording track by track is that you are seeking absolute perfection.
Mm-hmm.
And when you play live, it's different. You're not going to get absolute perfection.
Right.
However, we seem to do okay because people have listened to it, and we've had some good feedback from it.
Oh,
so,
yeah. No, it's a great album. And you guys are like, you're a live band, and I mean that literally, and also just the soul of it, no pun intended, it's just like, there's that energy to it. There's that alchemy to it, and the chemistry with the three of you. And I love that Bart's idea was to capture that, and yeah, I get it. It's cheaper. We all know the studio time is really expensive. So it's a smart move financially too, but it suits you guys, as a band, because that's, as you said, that's what they're going to hear when they come see, right? So why not capture that?
Except for maybe Black Knight. We did produce that one a little bit.
Well, okay, yeah. Now that is a great, I mean, they're all great, really. And but Black Knight stands out to me. I don't know if I Like You stands out to me. That one is I love the way the lyrics change from like, I don't know, to like, yeah, I know I don't. It's become clear to me now. I got it. I figured it out, and like it. And that's the thing. It's like, the album also has so much to say, right? I mean, obviously there are some important social messages on there. I mean, you start out the album pretty clearly from a point of view of like, okay, we're here to talk about all the shit that's not great, that's not working. Here's what we're doing. People wake up, and not in a political way, guys, don't get freaked out by it. But like, it's just, the lyrics are meaningful. You are saying something, but you're saying something different in every song, right? So was the stuff from Bart on that album things that he had written before? Did he? Okay, so it wasn't like he was writing it for this album. And sounds like for you, you weren't either, because they were things that you were like, I've written this, but this isn't my own solo project song, so I'm going to put it over here. So like you guys really kind of, if you had told me it had been planned, I would have believed you, right? Because the songs they go really well together. I mean, sonically and thematically, like, I mean, you know, you start out with like, this is what we're doing to the planet. You end up with like, you greedy motherfuckers, you know, and then like in the middle, there's all this personal stuff. There's relationship stuff. There's, you know, just, Black Knight is the lyrics are so touching too, you know, of just like, to me, that's like both a sad and a hopeful song, right? Like I just got to get through this Black Knight. I just have to do that, you know, and then I can do what I need to do, but I just got to get, and we've all been there. Right. So, I mean, how'd you put it together then? Like over the course of how long, and like, what was when you went into the studio, you obviously had a plan. Like, how'd you get there?
Well, we sat down, we had a look at the songs that were working. So
Okay.
we had started live playing with Steve a month after he joined the band.
Okay.
You know, nothing like a bit of pressure.
Yeah,
And,
Steve had to fucking catch up, but okay, that's well done, Steve. Good for you.
Luckily, he's a good guy and could do it. But yeah, and then 3 months after we got Steve on board, we were in the studio. So the way we selected those songs was the ones that were really working at the time, and were really tight, because we knew that we just wanted to go in and play live and get it done. So we needed the ones that were tight, and then we also needed the ones that sort of like fit in that heartbreak and redemption idea, because we had Bart and I had talked about for years that, you know, Heartbreak and Redemption will be the first Souls album. And yeah, so those songs were sort of true to that in a way as well. You know, you've got ones about the planet, you've got ones about what could have been a love song but really wasn't.
Has to have a twist, right? Yeah.
You know, about narcissism and how nasty that is, insomnia. There's Listen is actually about his time as a youth worker. And those stories are actually not so much, I guess, highlighting specifics, but definitely the trauma that goes with abuse. And so Listen's one of those special songs that once you understand the background, it's quite powerful.
See, and even without knowing it hit. So now I got to go back and listen again, knowing what it's about, because I mean that, you know, and it's interesting because if you had ended the album there, it would have left us on a very different note. Right. But it's not the last song. It's the next to last song. And then Greed just changes it completely. And I'm remembering you're saying earlier, like song order is like key for you. And I'm assuming, given how well the album flows, that was true of the Souls album as well. So was that you and Bart? Was that more? Okay.
Yeah. So we sat down, we had a look at it. We worked out exactly how we wanted it to go. And that was pretty much the order we ran with. So that was the plan. We said, this is what we want to do.
Okay.
Funny enough, we didn't record them in the order. But that was the order that we said, that's what we want. Okay. And then we picked a couple that we thought, they'll do well as singles. And so we released those first, and then we released the album after that.
Yeah. So. And so, I mean, it sounds like, because I mean, I know you had one like bang up write up of the album when it came out, and a pretty big review at that. So how thrilled it? Tell the folks at home about that, because that, I mean, how did that they just found you, just found the out, because that's a big fucking deal.
It was a pretty amazing write up, and I was sort of reaching, because I do all the management as well for
Right.
both the Souls and Katrina Maree.
Right.
And I had some good contacts, and BMA Mag, which is Bands, Music and Arts,
Yeah.
is a magazine that gets distributed around Canberra, written by quite a few really good quality people, and including the one that wrote that review. And I reached out to the editor and I said, oh, look, couple of times I'd reached out. The first time I'd reached out and said, oh, we got some gigs, just wondering how we get in the gig guide, and and we put in a few little adverts and all that sort of stuff, and that worked really well. And we thought, oh, that's pretty cool. And then I thought, oh, well, I'll reach out to him and see what he thinks of the album, if you want to do a review or anything else. And he sent me back the draft. And I've gone, oh my gosh, wow, that's just incredible. And
I mean,
and
the only word for that review is glowing. Like, it's just like that's a gift of a review, especially for like a debut album for a band. I mean, like, what? So, I mean, did you guys just like shit yourselves over the whole thing? Was it like, oh my God, I can't believe we have?
It was just incredible. And basically I said to him, I'd like to time it around the time of the album too. I think that would be really cool. And so we did, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And so Bart had that magazine open, and he would show absolutely everybody that he thought would care one iota.
Or it was just
And
walking
even if they didn't
slowly
care,
enough for
I'm
him
sorry,
to catch up
but
to.
you got to
That's
check this out. And,
yeah, of course. Because I mean, and it wasn't even, and it would have been amazing enough if it were in a random online blog somewhere, right? To know that somebody thought that highly of Bart's guitar and your bass and the vocals and the songwriting and the Steve and the drums and the whole thing and whatever. But it's a magazine. It's a magazine that's like that you probably had read separately, like just because, you know what I mean? Like Bart was absolutely right to do that. Just shove it in everybody's face. Why not? Oh my gosh. Okay. So this album comes out, you're getting really good feedback. And at that point, how much live performance are you doing once it's out? Were you already sort of, touring locally on it? Were you starting the live gigs with the songs after the album came out, or?
So we had singles coming out all the time. So so we had quite a few gigs where we would do single releases and stuff like that, and we were getting some pretty good feedback, which was quite cool, and unfortunately, around about that time, about the 11th of December, Bart started getting sick, and which was unfortunate, and what was I going to say? And so we had gigs lined up.
Yeah.
So he was in hospital battling lung cancer and some serious lung cancer too, like massive lump in his right lung.
Yeah.
And at this time we thought it was curable, or at least, controllable or whatever. And so he was going stir crazy in the hospital from the 11th, and we had this gig booked for the 23rd of December, and he didn't care what was happening. He was getting out for that gig. And so
force of nature. Yeah.
So he had that magazine, and he was showing everybody in the hospital, this is what I'm doing. I don't care what's happening, but on the 23rd, I'm getting out and I'm going to do this gig. And he was starting to stress out because on the 23rd, things were going slow, as they do in hospitals for discharge and things like that. And he's waiting, and I go, look, I'll go pack the car with all the gear. I'll come back, and then we'll see how we go. And anyway, he got discharged an hour and a half before the gig. An hour and a half. We hadn't rehearsed for about 3 weeks because he was in hospital, obviously. And so we get to the gig, and you know, he's still not well.
Right.
And I had done the set list so that, you know, half the songs I was singing, half the songs he was singing, because I thought, you know, lungs are not going to take it that
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Anyway, typical Bart gets up there, decides to completely change the set list, sings 7 out of 8 songs that night. 7 out of 8 songs
Jeez.
with a massive
Even
9-centimeter
without
lump
a
in his
pulmonary tumor, most singers would not want to sing 7 out of 8 songs. I mean, but again, everything that I've learned about Bart from you, from researching, like, that's so on brand. Like, of course he did that. Of course. And not only did it, but had to do it, I'm guessing.
It was more of a have to. That
Yeah.
was the thing
Yeah.
that kept him going, and I think inside he knew that would be his last gig.
Mm.
And so, like, people were telling me just before, they go, he can't do this gig, he can't do it, and I said, let him do what he wants to do. You
That's
know,
right.
we'll deal with the aftermath later on. And
He needs it. Yeah.
he needed that gig. He garnered so much respect from so many people when they realised how sick he was.
Mm.
And he just come off that stage just looking as white as ghost. But he sang well. He played the best I've ever heard him. You know, he played his guts out that day. And yeah, so that was the last push that we could do live for the album, unfortunately, which was a real shame. But yeah, it was definitely pretty cool being a part of it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like, there's no good part of that, right? I mean, there's no good part of Bart getting sick. There's no part of being trapped in the hospital. There's no good part of, you guys have just begun this thing that's got all this wind in its sails, and then, I mean, that's, you know, that's a, you know, what can I say? You know, and I mean, at that point, what was Bart's plan? Was it just, let's now focus on getting better, let's keep writing? Like, what was the headspace around the next step after that gig?
I think his headspace was he just wanted to get better. And unfortunately, it never really happened that way. But yeah, he picked up a guitar again for his granddaughter, his little 1-year-old granddaughter, when she came down and saw him in January, which was really cool. And yeah, that was the last time he played guitar. So yeah, he just got too sick, too weak, too frustrated, as you do, and he went pretty quick after that as well. So in some ways that's good, because he hated hospitals and pain and everything else. In a way, it was frustrating as hell, because we had just sort of, you know, got the band where we wanted it, got our relationship where we wanted it. And yeah, so yeah.
I have to say, I you know, you have been so the way that you've approached these last couple of months, because you were scheduled to tape this with me the weekend after Bart had passed away, as I recall. And, you know, I'm sitting there, you know, with this news, and, you know, I'm going to Greg, you know, we're not, you know, we're not talking to Kat this weekend. Like, there's no way. And I got that message from you, like, so are we still on for this weekend? And I was like, honey, what? You know, and I was so proud of you both, that you, and again, any of this that I'm not meant to share, you know, that will come down to you. But, you know, the thing that you said to me was, you know, Bart wants me to keep going with the music. He wants me to keep doing this. And, you know, obviously we decided to reschedule, you know, and I've watched you take your time off social media, just kind of away from everything. And I've been glad for you doing that because, you know, I can imagine very vividly, given our situation here, Bart and music are this for you, right? So, you know, going on with it is both impossible and crucial, I would imagine. So I just, you know, and without even ever having spoken to him, without knowing him at all, just from listening to the album and just looking at pictures of him, you get such a sense of the person that Bart is. Just, I mean, he looks like a fucking pisser, first of all, just like funny, and like he would just level you with a joke that made you laugh despite the fact that you should have been mad at him for it. And like, I just get this strong sense of him, and you know, and the partnership there, musical and otherwise. And you know, and I just you know, I there's literally nothing I can say, Kat, because I as someone who is with the person in my band as well, romantically, you know what I mean? Like I understand what that feels like. And it's like, you know, that's one of the greatest fears you have, right? Is that losing someone that's elemental to you like that. And I just, the fact that you're here today, talking to me about it, you know, I just, I have nothing intelligent to say. I don't, because it is a tremendous loss, and I'm just so sad for you, and I'm so sorry for you, and I'm so proud of you that you're you know, you're keeping the music going, you're keeping it out there, and it sounds so trite to say, but that keeps him with you, because that's, again, he's in the DNA of everything that you're doing at this point. So, I mean, you know, do you and Steve, have you had that conversation? You know, I mean, I don't, even if you wanted to, I don't know that replacing Bart is possible. I mean, he was really, that's a, that is a singular voice, both lyrically and instrumentally and vocally, right? And then just, you know, I mean, you know, where are you with everything right now, I guess, is the broadest and, you know, maybe most simple version of the question I'm trying to ask, you know, if you want to answer it, and if you don't, you don't have to.
Well, when before Bart did go, he turned around to me and he said, I want you to keep the souls going. I want you to keep your music going. And I just turned around to him and I said, how the am I
you
going
can say
to
it.
find a shit-hot guitar player that does what you do?
Yeah.
I mean, I've never seen a guitar player that can do rhythm and lead all at once and make it, you know, sound full.
It's yeah, it's like a magic trick. Yeah,
it's a real skill set there. And and so I said that to him, and Steve came in after he passed, which was really nice. And and I turned around to him and I said, he wants us to keep the souls going. And he just looked over at Bart, who was laying there, obviously, as they do. And he turned around and he goes, how the fuck are we going to find a guitarist like you? So Steve's been good. He reached out about a month ago and said, I think it's time that we start to jam again. And it was probably a good thing in a way that we did that. And so we've done a few jams, which has been great. And and then we did what was known as Bart's last gig on the 24th of March. He didn't want a funeral or anything like that, but he actually wanted a living wake. And so we sort of carried that idea because we didn't have time to do a living wake. And so basically what he wanted is he wanted people to get up on the mic, spit shit about Bart, have a good time, play some music, you know, and he wanted it at the Potbelly, which is one of our favourite venues in Canberra, and has been very supportive for us. And so that's where we did it. And so I got up and, got up with his best mate, who's not a bad guitarist, mind you, although he is in Melbourne. So, I'd have to drag him all the way up here. but so we played 3 songs. So we played Black Knight, and Rotting and Mother. And normally Bart would, sing Rotting and Mother. And they weren't in Doran's register, which is Bart's best mate. And so he goes, you might have to sing them. And I'm like, oh, you bastard, you're making me play songs and sing. So we did all that. And it was cathartic. It was quite cathartic. We had a lot of people there, which was great. And it was just a good time. But yeah, so Steve and I have decided we'll do a duo for the short term.
Okay.
With both the piano stuff and the bass stuff. And we're writing still. We're carrying on writing one of the songs that I was writing before Bart got sick. And we're starting to work on that again. A couple of other ones in the pipeline as well. And we'll just see how it goes. I might reach out to Doran and see if he can put some guitar down for me.
There's something very lovely about that, that rather than just, and however it works out. But I mean, having someone who was such a close friend, be part of it now. Again, Kat, I feel like, I mean, everything that I want to say to you just sounds so like vapid and empty, and because it's just you can hear the magic of the whole thing in that album, the Souls album. You can hear it, and I do believe that that's got as much personal in it as musical for the two of you. And so, it is it's a huge task that Bart has given you, right, to keep it going on every level. Because as you said, first of all, how do you replace a musician like that? And then you can't replace a person like that. So, I mean, it's, I just am, I'm happy to hear that you're finding catharsis and some solace and some joy in being back together and jamming, because that could go another way, right? So I'm relieved to hear that the music is sustaining in some way, as fucking awful as the whole thing also is, and I think that it's a testament to you guys that this album just came. This does not sound like a debut. It really doesn't, and that makes sense to me too, because you guys have a lot of experience, the three of you among you, and I mean, and anybody that goes on Spotify or, Katrina's website has, links to the Souls and everything too, obviously, but, and you read the bio for the band, and it's just, Steve calling himself the drama, and like, and there's just so much personality there, and Bart and, the accolades that he's had and the awards that he's had and all the bands that he's been in and the way that he's played and for how long he's played, and you not exactly any slouch coming to this with all your solo experience, just, being able to do piano, being able to play bass, being able to sing, like that's a recipe for a great album, right? And so, if you had told me this was like your 4th studio album, your 9th studio album, I would have been like, yeah, totally. The fact that it was the first one and you recorded it live in the room together almost completely and in a day.
Yep.
What the fuck? I mean, I would say that's not fair, but I think you deserve more than your share of fair being made up to you at this point. So, I mean, are you writing for just the band? Are you writing songs and they will go where they go, whether it's your solo project? I mean, I imagine you have a lot to write about right now, or is it you can't go near it? Where is that sitting for you in terms of the? I know you said you and Steve are writing, but like, you know.
So I've got a backlog of Katrina Maree songs that I sort of was planning on recording over the Christmas period and stuff like that, which obviously hasn't come about.
Right.
So
Right.
I've still got 5, I think, in the pipeline there, which are pretty much ready to be recorded, but just haven't got to it yet.
Okay.
And then the one Steve and I are working on is more of a progressive rock type one,
Okay.
which we've been working on for quite some time because it's typical me. I love my proggy stuff. And so it's got, you know, like 3 or 4 different types of riffs with different time feels and you know, different tempos and you know, all that sort of stuff. And we're just trying to nut it in a little bit more before, you know, we start working on that. So that's going to be a really, really fun epic song, I think.
No, and I really and it's interesting to me too, because you know there is a real blues foundation to the Souls music for me, but there's rock and there's definitely prog rock, like definitely, but you have some super funky shit on there too as well. Like I'm sitting there and I'm going, okay, you know, we're playing along. And you know, you I mean, not that you also don't do funky stuff on your solo album, but like you guys are as I said earlier, I think not even wedded to one genre within a song, right? So I mean, like I got some Hendrix in Listen. Like I heard some of that. I did. When you laugh, I don't know if you think it's fun. You know who Jimi Hendrix is, right, Kat? Okay, great. We've got that one. I've got that in the Beatles. We're on the same page there. I think that's pretty spectacular. But I mean, like, and then like Rotting was almost like a grungy kind of Soundgarden sort of like, but again, like prog grunge. Like I don't even know what you would call it. But there's all that, and then in the choruses, there's almost like a no, it's not the choruses. You have a midsection, like at the half point, that reminds me a lot of like an Even Flow by Pearl Jam. You know, right? So like there's all this stuff working in there. And then you have, I don't know if I like you, I got big Jefferson Starship. No. Which one was the good one? They had Airplane and the Airplane, White Rabbit, right? Like the whole feel of it is I just insulted Grace Slick, and I'm sorry, Grace Slick, if you're still with us, that I've insulted you, but everybody knows what I'm talking about. Like we built this city and there was White Rabbit and we all know what's what. But I mean, like, and that song too, I mean, it makes sense because obviously I'm assuming you wrote I Don't Know If I Like You, but like the bass on that is so like, oh, you know, and it starts out right front and center, right? But the vocals are so strong. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the way that lyrically you flip the control in that song, like, well, I don't know if I like you, but I'm going to kind of let you do what you're doing here, even though I'm not 100% cool with it and whatever. And then by like you're like, no. And like, and again, there's just all of that passion in the album, like just all of it, passionate about the planet, passionate about, you know, your relationships, passionate about yourself and the things that you're standing up for yourself. And, you know, and Bart sharing his story, you know, in Listen and, you know, I love that you, as I said, you've just got so many elements and the song will shift. And I almost don't realize it in the moment. And then later on, I'm like, well, wait a minute, but we started here and now we're here. And like, I'm here for the whole thing. So, I mean, like, I can only imagine that as you keep writing, because you do that in your solo. I mean, would you agree you do that to a different degree, but you do that in your solo stuff too. It's more song to song, I think, than within songs. But like going from like a Don't Let the Weather Drag You Down, which great song. Like and it starts out so, again, not as a bad thing, simply, but like it builds and there's just something so like, I want that to be in like a movie soundtrack somewhere, you know, where like, you know, our protagonist is in like the strife montage and, you know, we just need like that motivation or whatever, but I'm getting Natalie Merchant vocals and I'm getting some Floyd in the, and like, you do all of it so well. So how? Like when you started, were you, I mean, because you were a band kid, right? And then like now you're doing this, and I know that you got in through the blues, but like where did the rest of that come from? Is that influences? You know, are you just writing and it comes out that way? Like, you know, what makes you so genre promiscuous? What makes you so not tied to one sound or one thing or one idea? Is that just, did it just fucking happen? Are you intending to do it? Like what's your deal, Kat? Explain yourself to me. Explain yourself, young lady. How do you do that?
I saw a meme once that said the you know the secret to a girl's thought process is through their playlist, and that's that is probably so true.
I like that.
I listen to everything.
Okay.
I listen to classical music all the way through to punk, to heavy metal, death metal, you know, and everything in between, electronic music included, you know, like everything. And I get elements out of different stuff as a result.
Okay.
And, you know, like, you know, I'll like that feel, or I'll like that feel, or whatever. And, you know, it just sort of gets, I don't know, thrown into the brain somewhere. And then when I'm emotionally playing, because that's how songs come to me,
Right.
you know, something comes out and I go, oh yeah, I like that. And then I like that bit too. And I like this bit. Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to tell myself no. I'm the boss here. I can put whatever I want in this. It's fine. Okay, so you really are just playing. You're playing what you're feeling, and you're not editing that. Okay.
No, not really. No. So for example, Don't Let the Weather Drag You Down. I was talking to Bart, you know, online one day, and it was pouring down rain outside, and he was a bit arthritic, so the rain really hurt him. And, and I don't know, I just popped up one day and just said, "Don't let the weather drag you down." and then I've just written it down, and I've gone, I like that. And then somehow I just come up with a melody not long after that, and then it just flowed. That's what happens. Things just flow, and then like, I don't know, because I'm caught up in the moment. I've got to be emotionally attached to something to be able to write about it, you know.
Okay. Do you ever write something and then go, and just put it aside, not besides your bass composition from high school? Like, do you ever start with something and then you just can't get any more juice out of it? Or do you generally find that you're able to do, because you said your phone is full of stuff, right? Is that stuff you haven't gotten to yet? Or is it some stuff where you're like, I just have this random, like you did with Footsteps, like, okay, you know, I've got this one progression that and then I got to build it out. Like, do you ever hit like a wall? Or you just okay.
Yeah. So those riffs that are recorded, they just come up and I go, oh, cool, record, and and they might not fit anywhere at the moment. So you know, I just leave them there, and then I come back and I listen to them, and then I get to the point where I don't know, I'm obsessive about something like Footsteps, you know, like the progression there. I was just obsessive over, and I like that, and you know, and I just play it over and over and over, and then all of a sudden something else would come, and I'm like, oh yeah, oh no, that's not quite right. Oh yeah, that's where I want to go with it, and so that's what I do a lot. It's really weird. There's no real plan.
So, but that's interesting to me because I'm assuming when a riff or just something out of nowhere rather comes to you, that probably doesn't have a lot of emotional content on its own, but it sounds like as you marinate it, and then somewhere in there there's a thing where like, you know what, I'm coming back to this, and then you get, as you say, obsessive, right? But like, to me, obsessive is an interesting word, right? Because it's always meant negatively, but like, that sounds to me, the way that you're describing it, as it's lighting up your brain in a particular way. And there's something in there that you're connecting to, and you're developing it as you go. So, I mean, when you are those riffs, when they come to you, just, you know, out of the blue, and then you just put them down as an isolated thing, do you feel anything when those come to you, or it's just like an errant thought almost? Like, how emotionally invested are you in just that one? Is it like, not besides just like, ooh, I like that? Like, is it making you feel something that gives you a sense of where the song might go eventually? Or is it just like, oh, I had this idea, I'm going to write it down or record it?
Some things are emotionally charged.
Okay.
Particularly piano stuff seems to be emotionally charged because, you know, that's my outlet. So, you know, when I'm having a really, really crap day, I'll just put the headphones on and I will play for hours. And sometimes something comes out of it. And then if I'm what I call obsessing over a riff or a feel, I will spend hours playing it over and over and over again, or I'll record it, you know, roughly, then I'll listen to it on my commute, you know, over and over and over again, and then things will start coming to me. So yeah, when I say obsessive, I mean obsessive.
Well, but I mean, but it, again, it sounds like you're getting it into you so deeply that then it will unlock the other ideas that you're going to have around it, right? It's not just like, you know, if you were sitting in a room by yourself, you know, for the 9th day in a row, just playing the same 7 notes over and over again, and you're like, I'm never going to do anything else with this, I just like it the way it is, I would probably, you know, get you a cookie and be like, Kat, let's sit down and talk for a little bit. But you're not doing that. It sounds like you're I don't know, I mean, I don't want to tell you what you're doing, but it's do you find that the more you do that, the more emotionally connected to that thing you become? Like, do you find that over that, okay, so it is changing, even though it seems like you're just doing the same thing over and over and over again, you are building, developing, iterating, thinking, like being creative. It just might look a little wacky to you from the outside, since you're calling it obsessive. But I don't know. I mean, I think that that's, you know, it's funny. It's almost like a song being an earworm before the song is a song. You know, you just have this one part of it in your head over and over again, and just the rest of the song doesn't exist yet. So I mean, I don't know. I think that's, to me, that's what I resonate with most with you and your music, whether it's the Souls or your solo project, is just that there is so much passion in there, that there is so much emotion and connection, and there's just so much humanity in it. And it sounds so stupid to say, but like, you know, as different as the songs are, that's the thread for me, you know, that you know, I mean, even a little fucking like great time, what are we doing here, I have not heard anything like this from Katrina's song, like the Fun Bus, right, where you're just like, okay, I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, we got this like sort of, you know, the synth, you know, in there, and it's bouncy, and I'm just like, okay, we're on the Fun Bus, and I'm like, they're right there with you, but like, you're owning that song so much. Yeah, come on, it's just great, it's a crazy ride, this is the ride you want to get, come here, come on, this is good, you know, and given, you know, what I know of you personally offline, right, or at least, you know, in DMs or whatever, it fits your personality so perfectly. And this whole idea of, let's just sort of explore what it would be like to be somebody else for a while, you know, like this kind of idea, like let's just try it on, like, but it's among these other, like, Traveling in My Mind is such a completely different song, you know, and it's you probably don't know the B-52s either, but I got a little bit of
Yes, I
B-52. Okay, there we go. Or I'm just going to assume that everything I say is like, when my kids talk about, YouTubers and I'm like, I don't know who the hell that is. I'm just going to assume that everything I say is sort of like random to you, but like, and it's just so, it's kind of intense and ominous traveling in my mind, but it's also just the way that you build that out, the harmonies, and then the counterpoints, and the backing harmonies, and the little bit of like almost like a round in certain spots, and the guitar solo is so sexy and it's so warm and rich and full, and like, and then you do a thing that you do in a couple of your songs where there's almost like a doo-wop feel to the choruses, almost like a 50s kind of retro, and like I don't know how that all works, but it does. Like it does, and it works within the song and it works across the songs. And I really, anybody who's watching this who has not really listened to Katrina's stuff, you're missing out, because it just is, and that's the solos too. It's not just the solo stuff, but ostensibly we're here mainly to talk about the solo project, and we can't separate them because of course we can't. But like, I just, nobody sounds like you. And I mean that in the best way, and because what you're writing is smart, but it's accessible, and the music is so good, and it's simple and spare where it needs to be. It's rich and layered where it needs to be. There's something genre-wise for pretty much everybody in there, unless you're into like hardcore speed rap or like, I don't know, circus clown music or whatever, although Fun Bus might catch you a little bit there. But like it just, it's a pleasure to listen to your stuff. It really is. And I just, I love anything that keeps the bass central, because people don't give enough love to the bass. They really don't. But it's also not like you've mixed everything else back and it's just like your bass. It's where it needs to be, but you notice it. And you notice it and you're slick about it. So I'm talking a lot, which is not a new thing for me, but like, I guess this is my long-winded way of saying too, that like, you don't only need to keep the music going for Bart, you need to keep it going for you, and you need to keep it going for us. Like, I would be so sad if you stopped. I really would, because I just, for every mood that you have, there's a song, and for every genre that you might want to listen to, there's a song, and for every lyrical idea that you might want to connect to, whether it's, and I don't mean literally like you're not writing about doing your taxes or whatever, like there isn't literally, but I mean, if you want to talk about something personal, it's there. If you want to talk about something global, it's there. If you want to talk about something social, it's there. If you want to talk about something where you're just like, you know what, fuck you, the horse you rode in on, take the horse back out, bring him back in here, fuck him again, like get out of my life, I'm done with you, like who am I, what do I need, where am I go, like I see it, and I love that you're offering that so openly, because that fundamentally just, even if the music weren't as good as it is, and even if the vocals weren't as good as they are, it would get me, because I feel like you're having a conversation with the listener, and not everybody does that in the music. And that I'm a sucker for that all over the place. So like, really, I don't know how much love Katrina has on her stuff, guys, but go listen, then click all the buttons, like the things, follow the things, subscribe to the things. There's all the things, do all the things. And then just enjoy it, because you really will. And I just like, I'm still sitting here rolling over the fact that you were not confident about your vocals going into the studio 3 years ago. And like, now when you get it out there, whether it's live or in the studio or just whatever, do you have that confidence? I mean, I understand right now, foundationally, you're in a shaky place, but like, fundamentally, do you feel like when you got that back, or got that for the first time in 21, do you have it now, or is it something that you're still a little bit struggling with, just confident in singing?
I think I'm a lot better than I was.
Okay.
Yeah, when I initially, particularly not so much with the band stuff, because the band stuff was the band stuff, and I was the short ass rock chick with the green strings, a completely different persona. So,
Yeah.
it's just sort of like, yeah, that's cool. You know, I can be
Yeah.
as quirky as I want, whatever. But there's something vulnerable when you do your own solo stuff,
Oh yeah.
and that can be nerve-wracking sometimes. And sometimes I know when I personally look back at recordings of myself, particularly in the earlier years, you know, there are times when I just go, ooh.
We all do
I'm
that though. We all do
yeah,
that.
but I feel that I'm getting better, more confident, and now I'm forced to sing more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn you,
Yeah.
Bart.
Don't
But
yell at him. He's just chilling over there on the amp. Leave him be. He's fine. He hasn't said anything and bothered you. You don't have to start. Don't start, Kat. Don't start. But yeah, I mean, yeah. So, well, I mean, Steve doesn't sing at all, right?
he does backup vocals. So
Okay.
but he primarily doesn't sing himself.
It's
So
also very hard to sing and play the drums at the same time. So I
true,
especially
true.
lead, but okay. Yeah, okay.
So that sort of forced me to sort of, you know, be the lead singer for now.
Yeah.
Which is sort of developing my confidence, because all of a sudden now I've got to learn lyric, you know, because we've agreed that we'll do some of Bart's songs as well.
Right.
And so I'm learning a whole bunch of lyrics that I didn't have to worry about because I could be lazy and not worry about those, you know. And now I'm like, damn, I've got to actually remember lyrics. And I think that's given me a bit of confidence too, because there's songs there that I would have gone, nah, I can't sing that.
Yeah.
And like Rotting, for instance, Mother, which is one you haven't heard.
I was going to say, you keep mentioning it, and I'm like, I don't know that one. That's not on the EP, and it's not on any of your stuff, or you know. So okay, so
it was one we played live a lot.
Okay.
I don't know if it'll come out yet or not. We'll have a think about it. It's a particularly special song, that one. But the fact that I could do it, like at Bart's last gig in particular, you know, get up on stage and actually sing songs and make them sound all right. That probably gave me some confidence to keep moving forward, which is good.
Yeah. So. My hope for you too is that you realize how strong you are, because I do, and I'm pretty sure everybody watching this does, because just even being able to get up and sing at that last gig, like, you know, that's not nothing, like on any level.
There's a lot to be said for happy pills.
Hell yeah. Fuck yeah. That's exactly right. Whatever works.
I've suffered from depression for a long time. And I've been on antidepressants for a long time, what I call happy pills, which they don't really make you happy, which is the weird thing. They just sort of even you out. But I think without that medication at the moment, I'd probably be a very, very different person at the moment. So there's a lot to be said for psychology and medications when you need them and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I don't think I could have gotten up and done what I did if, you know, I was not under treatment. So
I agree. I also think you can credit yourself too, though. I do, because even being evened out gets you to who you are, right? I mean, that's the thing. People think about, you know, depression and anxiety and taking medication for it, like, oh, and then you're just happy all the time and you're never no, it's like you walk around your whole life wearing this insanely heavy coat, and the medication just helps you take it off, but then you still have all your other stuff. You know, you're just not under a pile of rubble all the time. You're walking on the same sidewalk that everybody else is. You're not happy all the time. You're not never anxious. You're just, as you said, even. And I think that's, you know, people who can just be like, oh, go for a walk and get some sunshine and you'll be fine. I'm glad that works for you. If you fucking say that to people who actually need medication one more time, we're going to bop you. So you know, I'm just, you know, that takes nothing away from you that you were able to do that. I mean, I'm glad for the happy pills, but it's you too. So, okay, listen, just before we wrap up, to summarize, okay, because I want to make sure that everybody is clear. We've got Katrina Maree Music. Okay. We have 2 EPs We've got Unrealized Dreams, and we've got Traveling in My Mind. Okay. And you've got Footsteps that's out. That is not a Black Souls project, even though it's the entirety of Black Souls that's performing it. But it is a Katrina Maree music project. Okay. So you've got Katrina Maree. And then when you go to her Spotify, for example, or her website, as I said, you can get to the Black Souls. Always will be Bart and Katrina and Steve. And that is, Heartbreak Redemption is the artist's choice there, at least right now. You can get it from there. You can go and look up the Black Souls. They have their own Spotify. They're, findable. And really, like, listen to both because Cat's in there, but it's different lives from the Cat. It's, there's the blues Cat, there's the piano Cat, there's lots of Cat. There's lots of Cat. And we're just going to keep an eye out for whenever the hell you're ready to put out something else. Do you think the next thing that comes out will be this song with Steve? Or do you think it's more likely to be a solo thing, or you just have no fucking idea right now?
No idea.
That is exactly where I would expect you to be. So yeah. I mean, let us not undercount the fact, Kat, that your entire life flipped upside down less than 6 weeks ago when we're taping this, right? So you take as long as you need to figure out literally everything, and we've got you. We've got you. Okay. So when it's out, we'll see it. And then there's plenty of stuff in the meantime. So you can go get your fill of Cat in all her forms until there's something new to listen to. And then you're going to have to tell me when that comes out, because I'm going to be mad at you if you don't. But all right, we've been through the mill here. Okay. You've been from not eating pizza for a decade to, being blackmailed into playing the flute, to not doing any music basically for 15 years, to this whirlwind that you've been in for the last 6. And now we arrive at the final thing. And I think you know what you're in for here, because you have seen the show, and you know that I do like to end every show with a little segment that we call In the Vox Seat. So I have asked every musician that's been on the show the same 5 questions. I think you know the stakes in play here for some of these answers, but we'll get there. Tell me, my dear, and I guess I probably should ask you for both projects, but I'll let you decide. You've had a fucking hard enough year. You can answer this question however the hell you want. Let's say for Katrina Maree music, if you had to describe Katrina Maree music in 5 words or less, what would you say?
Something you don't expect.
Ooh, okay. Motherfucker. I'll add the 5th word for you. Something you don't expect. There you go. That's it. Motherfucker, that's it. You know what? That's perfect, because it means so many different things and it's completely accurate. I love that. Do you want to do it for the Black Souls? You could technically say the same thing, but do you want to take 5 words for that too? You don't have to.
I can't think of how to describe us. We've never been good at describing us.
Okay.
That's a hard one.
Never been good. No. We can't describe our music, and maybe that's all that it is. Yeah, I think we're good. You answer for 1. You don't have to come up with it. That would technically be 10 words, and then I would have to charge you double. So, okay. Kat, your favorite thing, and I think I might know a little bit what the answer is here, but your favorite thing about being a musician?
I think for me, it's that emotional release.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like playing live on stage. There's nothing beats that.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
That's a good one. It's a good answer. It is something that a lot of people give as their answer in different ways, right? It's just that, either it's like, it's what makes me happy, or it's when I can express myself and I can't do it in words or whatever. But I think every musician understands that feeling of just, this is everything I'm feeling and everything that I need to get out. And it's just boom, right there in my music. But Flip side, your least favorite thing about being a musician.
Geez.
If you have
Everything
one.
is so freaking expensive.
Oh my God. 1,000%.
and,
Yes.
and I guess the outlay is definitely not balanced with the income either. And
No. I like the way you put that, but yeah, that's very, very true. It really isn't.
Yeah, so unfortunately, people don't value the arts as much as they do other things. Like if my favorite saying is, if you ring up a plumber, and you want him to work from 8 to 12 on a Friday night, how much do you think you're going to pay him?
You will need to mortgage your home. Yeah, that's it. And he deserves it, or she deserves it. Yeah.
And yet, $10 to go see 3 bands is, a lot of people go, "Oh no,
that's
couldn't do that."
What? That's a really
but I'll pay
Yeah.
I'll pay $160 to go see a tribute band or something like that, and it's just like, oh, come on, guys, listen to something new,
No, you're really right, though. It's true, because I mean, and the thing that people don't think about, especially if it's a band that's playing live out somewhere, it is a 2-3 hour gig. It is a 7, 8, 9, 11 hour day. I mean, and nobody thinks about that. As it is, the money that you get is so bad. And it's been like the same $100 a person at best for like 30 years at least, right? And we're still doing that. But like, if you amortize that over all of the time that you really, and that's not even counting rehearsal and woodshedding on your own, writing the stuff for originals bands, you got to pack up your shit, schlep it, set it up, sound check. It's true. It's like you're practically giving the venue money at that point. Like there's no way you're getting paid enough. So you're absolutely right. It's not just about the money, it's the value overall of, and you're right. It's so sad, but I mean, how is, just as a quick aside, how is the scene in Canberra? Is it as abysmal as it is everywhere, where people just really aren't going to see bands anymore, or is it a little bit better down there? Or
you have your diehards that'll come out every time, which is good, but particularly since COVID, but even before then it was not looking great anyway. And it's now, after COVID, people are scared to buy tickets in advance to events, which obviously has a flow-on effect, particularly if you're looking at festivals or stuff like that, because they're reliant on those pre-sales tickets.
Right.
And if they don't get enough, then they have to cancel.
That's right. They just won't do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we see a lot of that. There's a lot of cancellations across Australia for things like that. Canberra itself, there's only a couple of venues in particular that will support original live music. Most of the other ones will be cover and tribute bands, because that's what brings the people in.
Right.
But there are a couple of really special venues that believe in original music and keep it going, and they're the ones that I like to support.
Absolutely. So. Okay. Yeah. Well, it would be nice to ask that question of someone and have it be like, no, it's great around here. I've not heard that yet. But okay, this I'm very interested, because we've touched on your influences ranging from classical all the way to death metal and everything in the middle. So I have no idea what you're going to say here, but if you had to choose just one album to listen to for the rest of your life, what album would you choose and why?
Oh, geez.
I know people hate it. They hate it, and I keep asking it anyway. I'm not sadistic. I just really am interested in the answer.
That is a really, really hard question. I don't think I've got the answer for that.
Did anything pop immediately to mind? Like, did anything just pop into your head like, oh, I could pick this one? Or it's just a blank space up there? A rumpus room of nothing in your brain?
Just sort of bouncing from Primus to Floyd to, oh, gosh. Yeah, there's so many cool ones. Like, it's so hard.
I'm going to give you good news, Kat. This is never going to actually happen to you. It's a purely theoretical situation. So it's not like at the end of this, I'm going to be like, okay, Now you have to mail me all your albums, and that's it. You can't. So Primus to Floyd. Do you think you can settle on one? I don't think we've ever had anyone not answer. I don't think. I think Dreen from Kalank got close. She almost didn't answer me, and then she gave me Mozart. But I think everyone has given me an answer. So what do you say? You gonna throw a dart and hit one?
Yeah, Dark Side of the Moon's still a pretty good album, right?
Okay. All right. So, and again, I know it's pretty good. Is there a why beyond that, or it's a great album and
It's just good. You could listen to it forever.
Okay. There you go. I'm not going to argue with you. That's been a popular choice as well. So, okay. Kat, it comes down to this now. This is it. Your moment up until now has been, talking about your music, whatever. Your whole life has been heading for this one question now. You didn't know it. You were born, you were fighting kangaroos as a child, riding horses while you were doing so. You had no idea that life was just hurtling you towards this exact moment now. And I ask you the question, and Joe, Freaky, if you're here, calm down. I know you love Kat and you don't want her to mess this up. Okay. We don't see Dom from Jamsteak much anymore, but he will probably be completely fine with whatever happens because he's given up a little bit. But here we go. Are you ready? Your toilet paper roll. When you put the toilet paper on the holder, does the toilet paper come from over the top? Do you pull it out from under the bottom? And why?
It's got to be over the top. It's easier.
Over the top, easier.
Over
Now,
the top.
even in Australia where the toilets flush backwards, you're not... We think the stupidest fucking shit about all you guys. The toilets are backwards. You're riding kangaroos to work. You Crocodile Dundee is like the president of Australia.
That's not a knife. That's a knife.
We have no fucking idea what's going on down there, but it is, you are still in the majority by a great degree over. And it's just the right way. That's it. It's just, that's what it is.
That's just what it is. That's what I've always done. That's what I'll always do.
Okay.
It just looks wrong the other way.
Okay. But you're not, because some people don't even put it on the holder. You are a firm, unwavering over. That puts you, again, you are now a member, Kat. You didn't know it. You are a member of the Over Army. It is and again, I always hesitate to use this word. It is a blowout in the competition because there's nothing that's even close to it. I think it's most of the people who've been on this show go with Over. Every once in a while we get a different one. Yeah, I didn't know, because you do like to, march to the beat of your own bass, but you've gone with the majority. So Katrina Maree, my sweetheart, I'm so glad that you sat with me, and I just love you to pieces. I hope you know that. And I'm here, and I love your music, and I love what you do, and I love what you and Bart and Steve have made. And I know that you're bringing him with you into everything that comes from now on too. And just, I'm so glad that you found that confidence, because you deserve it. I'm really hoping that as you keep going, you just keep discovering more and more about how absolutely talented you are and how great your music is. So thank you for coming and sitting in this weird fucking interview with references. Now you have so much shit. Usually I'm the one that has homework. You got to go and watch the movie once. You got to go listen to, what did I say? I don't even know. No, you knew the B-52s. I don't know. Fiona Apple, you got to go listen to. I'll give you your list of things you have to do now. But so thank you again, my sweetheart, for being here. And I wish you all the best, Kat. I really do.
Really appreciate it. And thank you, Christina and Greg, hiding in the background there. No, I really enjoy the interviews that you guys do. And I was so stoked knowing that I was coming on. And it was interesting to see which way you were going to go and everything else. And yeah,
It was as much of a surprise to me as it was to you. Believe me, I don't know what the hell is going to come out of my mouth at any given moment. So I at least most researched and least prepared person ever. But I'm glad that you didn't leave halfway through. It all worked out. But no, thank you so much, and thank you for thanking Greg, because that's without literally nothing would ever get anywhere. I don't even know how to turn the machines on. I don't know what the fuck is going on. So, but all right, guys, I mean it. Go Katrina Maree Music, and I want to make sure you're spelling it right. Katrina, Katrina, and it's Maree. Okay, EE. Look at it; it's there. Don't use the I. There's no I in Team or Marie in this particular case. And then the Black Souls as well. Okay, and again, you can get to them. Katrina's got a website. She's got all kinds of shit. Good fun shit. We're on the fun bus, right? Go like, subscribe, follow, do all the things, listen to the music, most important, and that's it. That's another Vox and guest in the books. We'll see you next time. Bye.